Hello there. I'm coming at you with that ghostly ethereal glow, man. I was getting to be so pale. I think I'm going to disappear pretty soon, like the Invisible Man. Anyways, I did make a video to put up yesterday, but I decided not to put it up because, yeah, I got to guard other people's stuff. Unfortunately, not everybody is as shameless as I am, so I started talking about some stuff I maybe shouldn't put on the internet. So, uh, even though I don't think anybody in my family watches this, but I did talk about some things I hadn't talked about before on here. One of them that was kind of funny that I remembered is I got this idea, and you have to understand, like, there's nothing new under the sun in my point of view. It's like this whole incarnation from the Big Bang to entropy to the eventual dissolution of matter. It's like going through a cycle, and it's just all coming back around and coming back around again. I always liked this notion that Ted Nugent had, that music is found rather than created. Like, you're a miner and it's just already there and you just find it. Um, and also like the Aldous Huxley quote: "If the doors of perception were cleansed, the world would be seen as it truly is, infinite," from which the Doors, with Jim Morrison, took their name. This idea of time being human perception. But so the idea that I had when I was a kid was extremely original, but I am sure somebody had thought of it before. But I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I caught the biggest fly that I could catch and walked it around on a leash? Not walked it around, flew it around on a leash. Like a remote control device. So I said, I don't know if that would work though. So I took thread and I made a little tiny collar for it, a little tiny noose. I caught the biggest fly that I could catch. That wasn't a horsefly, because you really don't want to handle a horsefly. I haven't seen too many horseflies, but they bite. So I caught a big fly, and I, with my delicate guitar playing fingers, put this noose around its head, and then I walked it around. And I was like, yeah, it works, okay. And it could actually was big enough to where it could carry the thread and fly around. So I was just like walking around, flying around my fly. And I do not remember if I just did that in front of a few friends or at school. I should have did that at school, but it's hard to at least let kids go out for recess. So there would have been an opportunity for me to do that at school. But I think I just did it in front of a couple of friends. I think this one kid named Stacy Bell, I seem to remember particularly, because he hated his name Stacy. He was a jerk, and he was a child of a Jehovah Witness. And he planned it his whole life. He's like, I'm changing my name. That's a girl's name, Stacy. And what name did he pick? Jerry. Well, the name you're gonna change your first name from Stacy because it's a girl's name. Jerry is not exactly the most masculine sounding name. It's not Butch. It's not Lance. Nice phallic name like Lance. Rod. You know. But yeah, that was always the thing with him, even from when he was a little kid, man. And he was a mean little bastard. He wasn't that little either, but he's little compared to me. But yeah, he's the kid that we were just playing around on the asphalt at recess, and he body slammed me on the asphalt. And he was faster than I was, and he just took off running. We were friends. He's just a dick. Um, but he just picked me up and body slammed me on the asphalt, and I of course got up and chased him, and he knew my nature that he didn't want to be caught. And then I was like, I just gave up, and I said, I usually, me, I'm usually not at a loss for words, so I'm sure I said something along the lines like, "You can run, but we go to the same school. You can't run forever." And so the next day, he shows up at the bus stop with nunchucks. And believe me, the nunchucks, I was going to beat his ass before we went to school or waiting for the bus. He did have that part right. But what he didn't have right was the nunchucks didn't mean shit to me. They didn't scare me at all. Because anybody can swing around a pair of nunchucks. To actually use them as a weapon, that's a whole nother type of deal. Um, but it made it kind of like, eh, I got him scared shitless. I'm satisfied. I don't need no revenge. You know. Um, but anyways, his name was Stacy Bell. I don't mind talking shit about him. He was a shithead anyway, so I don't have to protect his identity. But yeah, he changed his name to Jerry. Um, yeah, I remember walking around that fly and thinking I was very clever, but I was often inventing stuff because I lived like in a vacuum. I was often inventing stuff that was already invented or doing stuff that was already done before. And thinking I was clever, like putting the notes on a guitar, that goes back a billion years. But I was like, you know what? I'm a genius. It's just no, you just live in an isolated uh, little bubble because your family is weird. So yeah. So anyways, like some other things that I remembered while I was like incoherently rambling, like not, I'm not sleeping good for whatever reason. And was I remembered that my Uncle Dave the Pimp was a nudist also in California. He wasn't really a nudist in Ohio because being a nudist in Ohio, that's a tough gig. Okay, that's a hard thing to pull off. You got to be an indoor nudist in Ohio, but California a little different. So yeah, but I remember like going hunting with him. Uh, we called it coon hunting, but I guess that's not politically correct. We'll call it raccoon hunting. He turned loose dogs in the woods at night because raccoons are largely nocturnal animals. If you ever see a raccoon in the daytime, avoid it because it might be rabid. Um, so the dogs chase it. You listen to the dogs and you kind of read the way they sound, when they're tracking. Occasionally you hear, oh, it'll be like, oh, you smell something. Then when they get really excited, they bark louder, and then you're running two or three dogs. They start harmonizing, and then when the sound stops at one place, they got the poor animal treed, and then you go kill it. So I went just as an excuse to hang out with my dad, and maybe, I don't know, connect with him, figure him out. But anyways, my dad, Uncle Dave, and me went coon hunting. We got caught in a downpour. It was kind of cold out because you don't hunt raccoons basically in the summertime. So I'm freezing my ass off in the truck. And we got the heater cranked, and the dog won't come back. He's probably like hiding somewhere from the rain or whatever. And my dad's out there trying to find him. And I'm alone with my Uncle Dave, the pimp and nudist from California. And he's like, you cold? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you got to get naked, boy. And I'm like, what? He's like, you got to get naked, man. You got to let that heat, this heat in here ain't going to do you no good unless you get naked. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I think I don't know how old I was, somewhere in the mid-teens. And he didn't get naked either, though. If he started taking off his clothes, I'm out the fucking window, man. Like those, like I've said many times, that side of the family was off the chain in weirdness, madness, violence, perversion, you name it. So it's like I go out in the rain and get cold rather than get naked. But he's like, just remember that you got to get naked, boy. I found out later on that he was a nudist in California, where he could afford to be due to the temperate climate. If you know, no one wants to be a nudist in Ohio because got shrinkage. You just basically be advertising that you ain't got much down there because the cold will shrink it up. But anyways, I had another thing on there that was worth saving, which I called the Pimp that stole Christmas, which I believe I mentioned before that like Uncle Dave just popped up on Christmas with his bottom bitch, and it was Christmas Eve, and he just like invited himself over with his one of his hoes. So it was a ho ho ho, Merry Christmas. And my mom was a fundamentalist Christian. My dad kind of just tolerated Uncle Dave. I don't know. He didn't have the same opinion of Uncle Dave as he did of Bobby or Pat or some of the, or Gene or some of the more evil members of the family. So I guess he was okay with him being a pimp. Whatever, you know. But he didn't like run him out of there. But he was just kind of looking at him like, But I didn't sense no evil coming off of him. And yeah, the pimp that stole Christmas. That was humorous. But a lot of what I talked about yesterday was just a bunch of incoherent nonsense. Not that my usual patter is all that easy to follow, but there was a couple of things in there that are funny. I was just basically fishing around trying to think of things that I haven't told y'all before and trying to be entertaining. Um, Yesterday, it's like 5:45 right now, but yesterday I walked the furthest I ever walked, which is that got me into like trouble, verbal trouble, because there's a place with a gigantic drop off. Like I was gonna walk, and I said I'm touching the road this time. I'm touching Tuscarawas / Lincoln Way, the main drag through two cities. I'm touching that road with my cane. That was my goal. The problem is, like on a straight shot, there's this huge drop off. I can't even like demonstrate how like 2 foot. And I remember one night I was riding my electric bike and I just forgot about it, and it's hard to get across that road. It's a multi-lane road. And I was like, well, here's my chance. And it was right there, and I just, took a left, forgetting about the 2 foot drop off, and dumped the bike, and lucky didn't break my head open, and landed in the street. The problem with landing in the middle of a busy street and wrecking a bicycle is you don't got no time to reflect on how bad you're hurt or to look at the blood leaving your body. You have to get the fuck out the road because there's headlights bearing down on you. So yeah, I got out of the street. It reminded me of another time where I wrecked on another street when I was much younger. And what happened there is that mountain bike and the handlebar just barely nicked the side mirror of somebody's car and turned the wheel sideways, and my foot slipped off. My right foot slipped off the pedal at the same time, went inside the wheel, and I flipped over a couple of times, but I could not disconnect myself from the bike, and I didn't have good reflectors on that bike, and of course cars on the other lane are zipping past me, and I see headlights coming. I'm like, man, I gotta get out of here, and I can't get my foot out from between the bicycle wheel. So I had to be like, I was like a fusion of man and machine, and I had to like drag the bike and myself off of the road, like with whatever limbs I had available. I was like part of that bike. I could not disconnect myself from it, but managed to crawl out of the road before I got run over. And yeah, so there was like other stuff in there, but I got in trouble and sidetracked with that. But what I did was like, I remembered that huge drop off, and I'm like, I remember that in pain. So I was like, I'm not going near there. So I walked even further and went around and ceremonially tapped my cane on the busy road. And then instead of going like straight back home the way I came, I like looped around through the back parking lot of the dentist office and walked home. So I have no idea how far I walked. I know I walked a long way. And by far the longest I've walked yet. And I got home okay and everything. I wasn't sure I was going to make it home. That's how far I walked. I never remember to bring a phone because I'm old and I don't know. I just never remember to bring a phone with me for safety purposes. I used to have those little tiny track phones that fit in your pocket real good. You just put them in the pocket of your pants or whatever. The phones they got now are big and awkward and unwieldy. So, anyways, so I used to carry a phone with me. It's just like inconvenient. Um, but what I really wanted to do was sit on the steps of the dentist's office because I figured the dentist's office has to be closed, have been closed since the quarantine. Uh, you know, dentists. I mean, can you think of anything that would spread COVID faster? I just wanted to sit there and watch the cars go by on the big road, look at the speedway I used to go to, and just sit outside, like away from my house. But I was like, well, if I do that, my legs will cool off, and maybe they won't work so good. I won't. It's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to walk as far as possible, not take no rest. You know, so I squashed that idea. But when I got home, I wanted to sit out on the porch, and I'm like, no, I can't do that either because I don't know who sat in the chair. And I went out with like rubber gloves on. Those thin rubber gloves medical people use. And when I came in, I peeled them off and threw them down on the floor. But I had to take the garbage out and stuff too. But I really just wanted to sit outside because being inside is getting old. Um, I did finally call back the real estate agent guy, Brent, but he hadn't called me back yet. I didn't answer two of his phone calls just because I've been sleeping so weird. Uh, like yesterday, I slept from 12 until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then stayed awake until like 12. And I actually took a extra dose of Valium so I could be up at this time of day. I've just been sleeping really weird, and yeah, this whole COVID environment, and I'm living in a building with irresponsible people. I'm having irresponsible people in my immediate circle coming over and blowing snot rags and stuff. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't make me too happy. And like, I don't even want to like buy stuff because I don't know where it's been. It's kind of making me a little bit more paranoid than I thought it would. But like I said, I got this like, I get these ideas in my head, and it's like, I got the idea like if I have a heart thing and I end up in the hospital, I ain't getting out. I just got like a foreboding about that. I never told you this before, but I actually had a prophetic dream about my spinal tumor. That I had a spinal tumor. And it was about that, and it was about something else too. But man, what a fucking terrifying nightmare that was. Because I'm a firm believer in like that dreams. There's dreams that are just like filler. It's like Roland of Gilead said in the Dark Tower series. Dreams either mean nothing or they mean everything. So this dream, it couldn't have been a coincidence. But I was in the desert, and I don't know why, but I was laying down in the desert, naked, and about where the spinal tumor grew, like a little like demon head type thing started growing out of my stomach, which I can still remember what it looks like. And then since I grew up if I was Muslim, I guess it would have been Muhammad walking up. But I was raised Catholic, so Jesus come walking up, and he's looked at me, and he had this really sad, pitiful look in his eyes, and he was like, I could remove this from you myself, but you're going to have to do it. Now, considering the location Could have been something about, my sexual hang-ups and dysfunctions. But it could be about the tumor. But I had it, and not too long after that, I started having symptoms of that I had a spinal tumor. Besides the growing pains, this was after the growing pain symptoms. But I started having like problems like urinating and stuff. So I considered that a prophetic dream. You can say, well, that's just nonsense. I don't have a problem with that. But what uh, the profound effect on me that it had is it was so freaking terrifying to me that I woke up with so much sweat on me. I never sweated that much in my life, and I've done logging on hot days. I've done roofing on hot days. I never sweated like that ever. It's a wonder I didn't get dehydrated from sweating. There was actually, how like in the cartoons, a guy runs through a wall and leaves the shape of a man. There was like a shape of me on my sheets that was just sweat when I got up, and I was shaking all over, and I went and I looked in the mirror, and I was like, calm the fuck down. It was just a dream. It's just a dream. And I was like, deep down, I knew it wasn't a dream. I also had one other dream. When I had a dream that the neighbor was pregnant, and then she turned out to be pregnant, and nobody told me, and I don't think anybody knew she was pregnant, and I didn't have no inside information on that either, because I didn't get her pregnant. So that was weird too. That I dreamed that she had a baby, and then like a week later, I found out she was pregnant. So that didn't make no sense either. But yeah, I do believe that it's a whole complicated thing. But yeah, I do believe that there's dreams that it's the higher you trying to tell you something. It's the higher you trying to tell the everyday you something. It's the subconscious, the collective unconscious trying to tell you something. And I don't know what the psychiatric community feels about that, but I think there's a significance in certain dreams that we have. If you happen to dream, some people don't dream or they don't remember their dreams. And I am thankful that I haven't had any dreams that seem particularly significant, except for one. And that was the dream of me carrying around my own corpse that I had about 3 weeks to a month ago. Oh shit, I shouldn't have thought that. That was before this COVID virus thing hit. Oh fuck. Yeah, that was before the COVID virus thing hit in earnest in the United States. I dreamed I was carrying around my own corpse. And I told that dream where it's like, I asked for a cigarette, somebody refused me because I'm not allowed to smoke. And I said, listen, damn it, I just died. I need a cigarette. But yeah, that was an emotionally charged, had a deep effect on me, that dream. And, yeah. Wow, I didn't mean to get in. I never know what the hell's going to jump out of my mouth. That's the problem. Sometimes I come on here with a plan, but a plan is just something that will never ever happen. That's what I think I was saying that they have in war. That's what a plan is. Something that will never ever happen. But that was my plan. Like that one day was to come on here and just talk about meaning. When I was walking around, I was thinking about meaning in life and how the meaning that I chose from my life was kind of like backfired and blew up on me. But I don't think I'm going to talk too long on here because I'm going to try to get outside. And there wasn't really that much of interest in that video, and I was watching it, and I was like, this is not only kind of boring, it's not repetitive at least, but it's kind of boring and a little bit self-serving. But yeah, I don't like that whole idea of prophetic dreams, especially if I dream that I'm carrying around my own corpse. Even if it is funny that I asked for a cigarette and was like, man, I need a cigarette, man. I just died. I deserve a cigarette, you know. But, anyways. But I honestly believe that that dream that I had was telling me that there was something deeply physically and psychologically wrong with me. Where I was laying in the desert, and then Jesus come walking up, and he looked at me, and I looked in his eyes, and he had a look of pity and sorrow, deep sorrow, and we didn't talk. It was like a telepathic thing, and he was like, we talked without words, and he was like, I could take this away from you, but you're gonna have to do it, and yeah, I can still see all that shit. I had that dream when I was like 16 years old. I can still see it. Yeah, I'm an odd dude. What can I tell you? Um, hmm. But yeah, I'm gonna. I don't know. I'm just. Hopefully, I have an okay day today and get outside here in a minute, and my heart feels okay. And, excuse me, and I can lift weights and whatnot. My cat food still hasn't come. You know, I paid for cat food and I paid for red tape so I could put my plague cross on the door. And once they had the lockdown, I got my clippers that I bought, obviously, and I got some pepper. My hands tingling for some reason being in that position. And that the other stuff that I ordered I didn't get because it come in a separate shipment because Walmart does that. And then I still haven't got it. I think my brother told me that Amazon and Walmart suspended all shipments for a week, and they usually tell you in the email. So when I get off here, I'll check my email to see if it's out there, or I'll just walk out. Hey, what was that? Oh man, it's like a strobe effect. I'll just walk out there and look and see if that cat food's out there. But the person that came and visited me uh, gave me 3 cans of cat food, little tiny cans that my cat would eat 2 of them a day if he had his druthers. Uh, he didn't eat much yesterday. He was just in and out. I didn't see him at all yesterday. I just left the window open. I slept in the afternoon, and he was gone by the time he woke. By the time I woke up. So yeah. Uh, See how that goes. As far as like, if I'm ever gonna get that cat food, I'm running out of cat food. So I'm running out of coffee creamer and stuff. And I just don't want to buy anything because I don't know where it's been. I don't know who touched it, and I just got like that. Now that I thought about that dream, and then the general foreboding. I'm not a superstitious guy, believe me. I don't believe in ghosts and all that crap. I live alone for a long time. I never get spooked. Unless it's somebody trying to break in my house, and then I don't enjoy that. But, yeah, having that dream and then having this weird feeling like that, this time if I go to the hospital, I'm not coming out. So don't go to the hospital. And so, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a goosey girl, as we used to say back in the sexist days of the 70s. Um, or just being superstitious. I don't know. But then again, maybe not. Because like I said, I've had dreams that came true before. Or, maybe the symbolism is of me carrying around my own corpse. I'm carrying around the past me, the me that used to be before benzos stepped in the picture. By the way, I wrote a lot online about benzos yesterday because there's so much ignorance out there about it, you know. And it was underneath Joe Rogan is madly popular, and it was underneath a Joe Rogan post, so I figured it'd be worth my time to it. And plus, you know, the first line that I wrote was basically, you know, benzos are very dangerous and can kill you. They nearly killed Jordan Peterson, who I guess is an internet sensation, though I don't really know these things. That was my grabbing head title to it, and then I explained about benzos to people that wanted to read further. But you know, when it happens to a celebrity, and I guess he's like a huge celebrity, uh, you know, because people still don't. The people in the video like are like, what is that? You know, what does it do to you? Like they're talking about Xanax, and like I raised my hand like a class, like I was in class. I know that one teach. So them hands tingling and shit. So I wrote like yeah, I was arguing with, not arguing with, but guy thought I was arguing with him, but I wasn't arguing with him. I was just writing stuff down. Well, I do that occasionally, like write stuff down where there's like a bunch of replies of different people, so that if they got their, you know, that you get how you get notified. You get notified of a reply on YouTube, so more people would have a chance to read it. And I try to be I am very concise in print ordinarily. So, you know, my prose when I write fiction, it's very stripped down. I do not waste any time. And I don't go here and I don't go there. And I'm very disciplined when it comes to, you know, I took writing very seriously when I was younger, and everything's tight and controlled and concise, and there's no wandering around and going this way and that way. I have an exact picture of what I want to say, and I have the key thing is if you have time when you write to like think like what is the best way to say this, what is the shortest, what is the most concise, what is the most powerful way to say what I want to say, you know. And then if you can harness that and not and keep it in a flow, that's when you know you're doing good. Actually, when you're writing and it's going well, it's the easiest damn thing in the world. It's like you cannot. I used to write longhand. It's like you cannot keep up with yourself because it's so easy. Anytime you're just kind of like fighting with it. When I was talking about the thinking process, that comes after. It's like I think this is the process for a lot of writers. Is like you're all in, and you're just and you're writing a story. You need to write. I mean, there'll be pauses in there where you're trying to think of the best way to say shit, but the pauses only seem long to you. They're not really that long, and the thinking comes later. That's like when I used to type it into the computer. I'd write it longhand. I'll show you my manuscript one of these days. It's hilarious, and what my handwriting looks like, and it's like it's indecipherable to anybody else that we can read that shit. And then like yeah, it's just like a big wad of all. And I would run out of paper, so I would use like whatever. I would run out of paper and was poor and didn't like. I'd use whatever paper I could find, any blank surface. So it's like all different sheets of kinds of paper. It's like it's the most slovenly looking thing, but the tightest prose, and written in a stately, specific style. And then like I would take a crack at writing like in a Raymond Chandler uh, type of hard-boiled detective style, and then like I would try to write science fiction. I would try different ways, but that's just me expressing the fact that I have an ego with an itchy nose. Uh, yeah, I'm like right now. I'm 95% ego, 5% itchy nose. So I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. This was just you know, I missed a day yesterday in more ways than one. But yeah, what I that rambling atrocity that I made yesterday, I just like got a little bit too personal with people in there, a little bit too critical of family members and whatnot. Uh, I long for the freedom to say whatever I want, but we do not live in that type of a world, and this is the internet. And yeah, there is like zero chance of me ever going viral unless my head explodes or like my eyes pop out of my head and fall out or something crazy happens. You know, or I get bit by a horde of black widow spiders on camera. There's like never going to be a lot of people that see this, and I don't self promote. I don't even bother to put tags on here. I don't uh, do cross media, put myself on Twitter and Facebook and other things that I know absolutely nothing about. You know, so yeah, I'm not interested in developing a large following and having a lot of people hear me. I just really don't care. Um, you know. But anyways, I'm gonna wish you a good day and get off of here. This has already been long enough, and I told you the best stuff about out of the other thing. I think anyway. Though I might rewatch the other thing later on that I made yesterday, and I just couldn't sit through the first half of it, and I realized like you should not be talking about that shit on camera, man. Yeah, that's airing somebody else's dirty laundry that's still alive and still among us. You know, I don't have no problem talking about the pimp that ruined Christmas, or the pimp that stole Christmas, and the ho ho ho, and making jokes about that, because no longer with us. But yeah, the living's another matter, and you have to have a loyalty. Loyalty has always been very important to me. So I always temper, you know, unless I'm like cutting ties, like like I did with these people over here, where it's like, man, all right, man, I'm taking the gloves off, and that's what the video was. I'm taking the gloves off, and this is the deal. This is what happened. If you don't like it, I don't care. You treated me like shit, you know. You ain't gonna come to me and complain about it because it's the truth. You know it's true. I know it's true. Uh, you can come here, and you know I don't give a shit about threats or anything like that. So, you know, if it's a situation like that video that I said, the gloves off and all the gory details. Um, but other people don't deserve that. You know, they deserve to have their privacy. And like something extremely interesting happened a couple of days ago, but I cannot tell you about it just because people deserve their privacy. And it's not over fear of retribution, it's just not right. And in this case, the retribution could be pretty severe because the individual that's involved could probably kill me with like one finger when I was healthy. So, yeah, it probably knows. Man, I can't even say too much more about that. I gotta go, man. Take care. Have a good day. And, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. And hopefully I can start sleeping a little bit more normal. And, this time that won't be alive since I didn't see you yesterday. So, um, yeah, take care of yourselves and be careful. Goodbye.